Stephen May from the Gold Coast Suns. Welcome to Future Stars, mate.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Hey, last night, good win, great win. Tommy Lynch kicked 7 goals, but you've got a big job next week. You've got Tex Walker, you've got all those forwards at Adelaide. You did your hammy. How are you feeling?
Yeah, it's a little bit flattening after getting a win. I come off and I was in the rooms and had a look at the Crows scoreline because we knew we were playing the next thing. I saw Big Tex kick 5 and I was, damn, I'm not going to be able to help out next week, but there's not a lot I can do apart from just, try and help around with my leadership off field and get myself right, really.
There was too many kicks last night. I saw you getting handballs around the back at 50 from young Fiorini, trying to bang him from 60 and you missed one. Is that how you did the hammy?
Yeah, Brado, it's funny, Brado asked me, he said, did you do your hammy when I gave you the hands? But it wasn't, it was when I was chasing Paddy Cripps. I was actually about to come off because we had a 6-day break and we had plans to look after my body, and I was just coming off and we turned it over. I went to chase Paddy Cripps and unfortunately it pinged a hammy.
Hey, as a captain and a new captain, you've only been in the job a short amount of time, but Gary Ablett, who's one of the greatest players our game is, you share it with Tom Lynch. So much criticism on him in the first 2 weeks. How do you deal with, firstly, Gary when he does interviews with the Footy Show like he did the other night and try and keep the team balanced?
Yeah, Gary, he's a unique individual, not only on field but off field, and he deals with things different ways. And thankfully the media had a crack at him because it really poked the bear, and he's playing outstanding football now. But we knew, up on the Gold Coast, we're sort of lucky. We're not in the media bubble and we don't hear about all that sort of criticism. And we just wanted to, show our support for him. And, he's not the skipper anymore, but he really is the leader of the club. He's not even the leadership group, but as you can see, when he kicks a goal or does something, the boys rally around him. We're really happy with the way he's going.
Speaking about poking the beast, you yourself, one of the great exponents of the big bumps. We're going to have a look at some of your finest work here, but you certainly missed a few games because of it, and you've been on record saying that you don't want to lose your aggression, but you've got to find a happy medium.
Yeah, definitely. As a young sort of player coming in, you're so excited and you want to have an impact. And at times, like the Steph one, there's a brain fade. Doesn't help when a skipper pushes him into me. But
it's Gaz's fault, that one.
But as a leader now, I probably didn't realise until I was suspended last year. The impact I had on the team. I was sort of thinking about myself, but it really hurt the team, and I had 5 weeks to sort of sit back and understand that. So, I'm just trying to find that fine line between the aggression and not overstepping the mark.
Now, you were a left footer,
yep,
but you used to be a right footer.
Yeah.
I've got a grab for you right here.
Yeah, I'll have to say Matthew Lloyd. I used to try and do everything he did. I traditionally was a right footer when I first started playing footy in under-10s, and I just forced myself to become a left footer because I wanted to be a full forward like him, and now I'm a full back, so yeah, it hasn't really turned out the way I thought it would.
That's great stuff. So you're a right footer, you watched Matty Lloyd, you thought he was unbelievable, and you changed to be a left footer.
Yeah, he was. I was a mad Essendon fan, and he didn't miss, and I always wanted to be a full forward. And at the time, I had the double hand drop, so it wasn't too hard to change feet. But I started sticking on the left and started working. So yeah, everything. I'm right-handed and right-footed and all that stuff. But when it comes to footy,
well, Stephen May, this is your life, because we're going to bring in the great man, Matty Lloyd, because when he heard about this, he's not shy of the camera, this man. He would have any time to get in front of the camera. But how do you feel when you hear that sort of stuff, that you change people's childhoods?
Well, I've always thought he was a good decision maker, and that was a beautiful thing. No, it does make you a bit chuffed, I suppose. Long time out of the game for 7 or 8 years, but you forget that guys like Steve were babies growing up watching yourself play football. So, it's a nice privilege to hear Steve say that.
And if you had to come up against Lloydie in his heyday, late 90s, early 2000s, would you played him from the back, the front, a couple of niggles? How would he gone about it?
Have to be the front. He was so good at the lead-up. I don't understand why they didn't play in front, but that's old school, sort of. Not old school, but how it was. But he was so explosive off the mark, and had Lucas wheeling on his left and just hit him on the tip. It was.
And we both loved the hip and shoulder too, so we could have got a bit physical.
Yours were a bit dirty. He's very hard. Lloydie, thanks very much for joining us. You're going to stick around. If you want to talk to us on social media, Future Stars TV, at Future Stars TV. Ask some questions for Stephen May, Terry Wallace, Big Toddy Goldstein over there, or even the purple jacket wearing Shifter Sheen. We're going to be back soon on Future Stars Brian C. Sports Nutrition. Welcome back to Future Stars. Brian C. Sports Nutrition available only at Chemist Warehouse. We've got co-captain from the Gold Coast Suns, Stephen May, with us. And we had Matty Lloyd on just before the break, and you said that's the first time you've ever met him. Was one of your heroes. How did it feel?
Yeah, I felt like a little kid again,
Yeah.
a little bit. He was sort of that superhero figure when I was growing up. So, yeah, it was pretty nice to meet
It's
him.
funny though, even though you play so much AFL footy, when you see one of your heroes from the past, you feel like that little kid again. I remember the first time I met Wayne Johnson, who was a Carlton player. I was just in awe, and I'd played 100 games myself.
Yeah, it's a bit like that.
Leadership-wise, I mean, are you a natural leader, or have you had to learn that part of it? Here you are addressing the players just before you run out. You've done some work with the Indigenous boys as well. How does it come natural to you?
I think so. I didn't actually see myself as a leader. It was not until my teammates sort of and the coaches told me I have a role in that area. Whereas I thought it was, just the way I go about it. I think is more of a natural leader. But I've got a lot of work to do still.
And just a photo there with the Northern Territory boys. Good doing some work with them as well.
Yeah, it's being from Darwin, we have that connection. The North NT, and it's great that we get to catch up in Indigenous camps, and I'm happy to see the boys playing good footy, like young Daniel Rioli starting to play some really good footy, and even though we might not be that close, once you're in the AFL, you like to keep in touch and support where you can, because we're trying to eradicate that sort of go home factor that a lot of Indigenous boys get tarnished with. So we're just trying to create a little family within the AFL so we can make it a place that young Indigenous boys can come and feel like they're accepted straight away.
That's great stuff. Now, you're out of contract yourself at the end of the year. How difficult is that, just dealing with things with your management group? Does it get in the way at all, or is it fine?
No, not for me. I've never really signed a contract until after the bye. Like, that's just sort of how my management and the club's done it. I think now that I've got a captaincy role, in pre-season it was a topic. I hadn't really thought about it. But I don't really. It hasn't really affected me too much, and I think if it was to affect the club and myself and my teammates, then I'd have to address it. But for the time being, it's not something that's on the front of my mind.
Now, one of your good mates is Meatballs Dion Prestia. He was on the show a couple of weeks ago. He obviously got Josh Caddy to the Tigers, but he was very keen when we asked him to get you to the Tigers as well. I know Rocket was in here Sunday Footy Show before, but he's gone now. He's in the cab on the way to the airport. It'd be nice to play with him, but I'd imagine, speaking to you, you're very, very keen on being a Gold Coast Sun. Yeah,
that's my priority would be to stay here, and not sure with Sir Alex Rance they need me down there.
Is it Sir Alex Rance?
Yeah, that's what us defenders call him because he's the best in the business, and they're pretty tidy down the back end.
Now, Steve, well done on your leadership role and the way you've become as a player. Now, give us your view on some of these rising stars of your club. Bladen Farini, for instance. What can you tell us about how he's emerging?
He's just a ball magnet. I'm not quite sure how he does it, to be honest. He played in his second game last year. He had 30 odd and a couple goals.
31 last night.
And then he's got thrown because he was down the back in the pre-season with us, just trying to find him a spot in the team because we've got such good midfield depth now. And now that the club's given him the nod to go in the midfield, and he didn't disappoint last night. So yeah, he's a star.
Big Peter Wright. He kicked 3 goals last night. A few sticky jukes. Where's his development coming from? He's starting to reach that potential?
Yeah, he's sort of a big confidence player, and you forget how young he is. When Charlie Dixon left, a lot of pressure got thrown on him to fill that void, and as you seen last night, he's starting to take some clunks, and he's a really beautiful set shot. So, the more we can get him helping out Lynchy, as we know with team defences these days, there won't be 2 or 3 on Lynchy. Peter will start getting one-on-ones, and it'll be beautiful.
Now, Steve, what about the human highlight reel, and that's Jack Martin? He can do lots of things. Where's he going to end up playing?
I think ideally midfield, but he's so good up forward. And I think he could play that sort of rogue half-forward role who goes up into stoppages and spits forward. It's a really tough matchup because he's so skilled, and his footy smarts are just unbelievable. And his start to this year so far has been as good as we've seen.
And one of the guys who's been really good is Brandon Matera as well. He's starting to get his body right by the looks of things, and really starting to get there.
Yeah, I think he had a tough sort of start to the year. He missed out with selection through maybe a bit of his intensity because he's enormously gifted. And Rocket, he set some standards on the last 18 months. More about, I don't care how skillful you are. It's about your intensity and your attitude around the club. And Brandon, he's come in and played a massive role for us, and we're a better team with him in it. but it's all about his forward 50 pressure, and I like it the way Rockets, no matter how good you are, Brendan Matera, if you don't bring those basics, I'm not going to play you. And yeah.
Now, the man sitting next to you, coach the Tigers, didn't quite get the 5-year plan right, but what he did get right back in 2010 was the fact that he said Tom Lynch should be a Tiger. Have a look at this.
The Richmond Footy Club, I think they might need another tool to go with Jack Rewalt and Tom Lynch from Dandenong.
Well, I'd say again a big mover coming out of the way he'd played for Vic Country in the Nationals. This boy from Dandenong and down there at Sorrento. He took 10 marks, and I think that he looks to be a top 10 choice without a doubt, and he might be Richmond bound.
So I think you were talking about pick 7 on
They
that occasion.
picked 6, which ended up being Reece Conker at the time. So
And he slipped down the list a little bit, so the Tigers could have got him. So
certainly could have got him. But I mean, I had my chance, Brownie. They didn't listen to me when I was there, so why should they listen to me now? So.
Now, Steve, we've got to wind back the clock and have a look at yourself as a 17, 18-year-old back in your day, a boy from the NT that we love seeing play forward. What do you recall about your development years there up in the NT?
Yeah, it was interesting because I was bigger than a lot of the other players already at a young age, so I just played in the forward 50, and it probably hurt me a little bit because I didn't leave the 50 too much, and once I got to the AFL, it changes. You need full 18-man defence, but I did love kicking goals. As you said, Lloydie was my hero, but it was a great experience playing for NT. We weren't the best sort of team, but when we got put up against the Div 1 teams, that's when we really saw what it takes to make it, because the Vic Country, Vic Metro and that, they've got a whole team of AFL players next year, whereas we've only had 1 or 2 each year.
And of course, one of those that played with you is known as Waller to his mates. Tell us about the McDonald Tippenwooty that started his journey up in the NT as well.
Waller, yeah, he's a really humble kid, and he's worked really hard for his. And a lot of people, think that he's just talented, and that's the way it's come. But he's worked really hard to get into the Essendon Football Club, and I think he had to play in the VFL to get a spot. But when he was in the NT Thunder side, he had all the skills. It's just the work rate and the basics required to make it at AFL level. And I'm just, like I said before, watching the other Indigenous boys from Darwin. It's good to see him playing a role in Essendon and being a regular each week. Mate,
thanks very much for joining us on Future Stars. Quickly before we go, you're going to be out next week with your hammy. Who gets the first crack at Tex?
I'm going to have to say Jack Leslie. Rory Thompson's maybe might miss, and Les has got a big job, but like I said before, it's more about back 6 versus the front 6 now, and we'll implement some ways to stop him, but there's also Eddie Betts as well we've got to watch out for. So it'll be interesting match committee this week, I imagine.
Thanks very much. Been an interesting chat with Stephen, mate.